Hello everyone and welcome to part 1 of my 1941 strategy series that I'm starting right now. This is part 1. We're going to be starting with Russia and going in order of country. Each country is going to have a couple or a few parts specific to that country because each country does have options. And that's what I like about even the smallest of the Axis and Allies games is you still have options. Now there are some givens for each nation, but there are always opportunities to do things that people still may not have seen before, and which is strange considering it's such a small game and there's so little you can do compared to other games. But still, you pull this game out, you play with someone new, and you'd be surprised at how much the game still has to offer. So 1941 remains still one of my favorites. I love it if people just want to come over for a shorter Axis and Allies game, shorter being still probably an hour or an hour and a half. But if they want to come over and just play a shorter version of Axis and Allies, I will absolutely break this out and dominate. I'm good with that. But let's get right into this. So we'll start with Russia's turn. And purchases, right down here, purchases are 2 infantry. And you're going to be spending $6 there, so you're saving $1 to spend on the next round. So no matter what, this video is going to be an aggressive Russia. If Russia decides to go and attack first, instead of letting the Axis attack first, usually the next video is going to be a defensive Russia, and that is the much more common way to play, is to huddle everything up in your capital or in your factories and just let the onslaught come. Now, it works sometimes if the dice are in your favor, but the Germans outproduce you and they will outmilitarize you and they will eventually take Moscow if you just play defensively. So playing aggressively is what I would recommend. If you're a new player, go ahead and play defensively, but if you know what you're doing, play aggressively. Because if you do play aggressively, you're taking land to buffer the Germans before your capital, and you're also taking out units that they can use to be attacking Russia, and now they can't. Now they're using those units to defend, which they aren't prepared to do in the first place. So, let's get right into this. We have a few attacks, and that is it. So, the 2 main territories that you absolutely need to control for the entirety of an aggressive Russia game are West Russia and Ukraine. The reason you need to control these territories is they allow a buffer zone between the German front and your factories. When the game starts, the German front is on the same border as your factories, meaning if Germany was to come in with enough stuff on their first turn and you were not prepared defensively, meaning you moved some troops out or didn't gather troops up, you could lose your capitals on your first turn, or your factories, I mean. However, if we take West Russia and Ukraine, now the Germans have to take at least one more turn to take a territory or both back before they can reach our factories again. So it is of the utmost importance in an aggressive Russia game that you take West Russia and Ukraine. In order to do that, we're going to do the following. First, we're going to send 3 infantry from Archangel into West Russia. Or not Archangel, Karelia, my bad. Archangel's there. So 3 infantry from Karelia into West Russia, along with 3 infantry from Russia into West Russia. So we'll have 6 infantry attacking their 3 infantry. And that is all that we're taking into that battle. Then we have the battle for Ukraine, in which we take 3 infantry from the Caucasus, the tank from the Caucasus, and the tank from Russia, and the fighter from Russia. Now, this battle is, it's going to be close for both sides, and I usually leave the tank out to use in the battle I will show you next, but you need it there. If you really want to take Ukraine, you have to have that tank there. So that third battle is going to be over here in Siberia. You're going to take these 3 infantry and slap them down into Manchuria. Now, again, if you were playing a defensive Russia, these infantry go to the Urals, and they just move there on the first turn, and on the second turn they're going to move back into Russia. However, you don't want to let the Japanese strike first if you're playing aggressive Russia, and you also really want to collect that $2 at the end of your turn. So that's what we're going to be trying to do, and I'll get right back to you guys. I'm going to roll the dice. I won't show you me rolling the dice, but I'm going to roll the dice for these battles, and I will show you the outcomes in just a moment. Alright guys, so my dice rolling did not go so hot for the Russians. So we won one, lost one, and retreated from one. So the one we won, here in West Russia, we actually got a flawless victory, which is ridiculous. But we killed their 3 German guys, and we lost no troops in return. So that means we can go ahead and slap a Russian control marker on there. Russia goes up to 8 in economy, and the Germans go down to 11, which is nice. This battle, we decided to retreat once we got down to 1 tank and 1 fighter. They had an infantry and 2 tanks left. I'm not confident with those odds at all. So, the tank retreats back to Caucasus, and I'm going to have the fighter retreat back to Russia. Okay? And then over here in Manchuria, we lost all 3 of our guys, and we only killed 1 of their infantry. But that is going to help a little bit in the defense of China, so America is going to have a tiny bit easier of a time there. But let's get on to our non-combat moves. So, 3 of these infantry from Russia, they're going to move down into the Caucasus. And I would have moved those down anyway. You always prepare, leave the 3 behind in Russia. The reason I did that is because they're moving in Caucasus in preparation for this to go wrong. Because this is a dicey battle, and we didn't win it. So always be prepared. If you're going into a battle with any country, always be prepared to back that up with failure. If you just prepare to lose, okay? Always prepare to lose. So I'm just going to chip these guys out real quick, which I should have done. Like that. And I'm going to send these 2 infantry from Archangel down to Russia. I'm going to leave 1 behind. Now the reason I leave this guy behind is because I'm going to move him to Karelia, and that way these tanks don't blitz through Karelia and attack Archangel and get this free buck. And they could also probably take Archangel at that. So, last thing we have to do is move this submarine in Sea Zone 4, which I'll move the camera up for you to see. This submarine in Sea Zone 4 here can go 1 space out into Sea Zone 3, and another space into Sea Zone 6. And there you go. So now we place our units and collect our money. Now we're not going to be playing through the rounds. We're just going to be showing you, again, I'll be showing you the first turn of each nation and what they can do on that first turn. This is aggressive Russia's first turn. But for placing units, we bought 2 infantry. So 1 of those infantry, in fact both of those infantry, are going to go into the Caucasus. And again, this is because we failed Ukraine, and so now we're ready to push into Ukraine again on our next turn. And it is nice that we were able to keep both our tank and our fighter from that, and we didn't lose both of our tanks in the beginning of the game, so we still have aggressive opportunity. Now, having 4 infantry and a tank here is going to really prevent the Germans from wanting to send these 4 tanks and this 1 guy in there to take it. In fact, the only territory right now that the Germans would be comfortable taking is probably Karelia, and if they did, in fact, want to take West Russia, it would take everything that they had here. And that is if they didn't use air power. So, yes, the Germans still have aggressive capabilities, but you gave them a buffer before they could get to Moscow. And that's your main goal as aggressive Russia. West Russia is more important than Ukraine for that reason. You want them to have a buffer before Moscow more than you want them to have a buffer to Caucasus, because Moscow is all that matters as Russia. Alright guys, so I'm going to reset the board up. I'll get to the next video here shortly, and that will be a defensive Russia, which is much more common. But at the end of this turn, we'd be collecting $8. We'd be saving 1 from the previous round, so we'd get $9, which is 3 infantry. And that's a lot for Russia in this version. 3 infantry is a nice purchase. Alright guys, thanks for sticking around, and I will see you in the next episode.